And we have your Performance Multiplier presented by Liquid IV. Fuel your play. I'm Chris Hassel. We are with the Miami Dolphins today, and Tua Tagovailoa continues to struggle in practice. A day after throwing 3 interceptions, Tua threw 2 more today and a pick 6 ahead of Miami's second preseason game this Saturday. Tua did not play in last week's preseason opener. No word yet on if he will play in this week, the second of 3 preseason games for Miami. Rick Spielman and Pete Prisco are out at Dolphins camp today. Fellas, we know that the pressure is on Tua going into this season. How is he handling that pressure so far, Pete?
Well, I mean, there's been inconsistency there. There was inconsistency on the practice field today, but I think from just handling it, I think it's okay because he hasn't played in a game yet. Until he gets into a game, and I'm not talking about a preseason game, which he should have played last week, but I'm talking about a real game. That's when the pressure mounts, and we'll see if he can handle it. They open with a brutally tough schedule, 4-game stretch to open the season. If he can get through that at 3-1, then he's handling it well. If he gets through it at 1-3 and he's throwing interceptions, then I think there's going to be major questions about him. It's a prove-it year for Tua, and he has to go out and show that he's the guy.
Yeah, and the third year of a quarterback in the NFL was the prove-it year. So there's a lot of pressure on him, especially of all the additions that they were able to add to this roster. They kind of changed their philosophy in talking to Chris Greer a little bit, and why there's so much pressure on Tua as they went out and spend money in free agencies. They made trade. They always had a lot of draft picks in previous years. This year they used those draft picks to go out and get some veterans to make this, I think, a playoff team that can contend.
Is he the starting quarterback next season for the Miami Dolphins?
I say with what Mike McDaniel's going to do with him and how they did it with Garoppolo, that he will be here because they'll do a similar thing that they did with Garoppolo.
To be determined. Let's put
Easy,
it that
Pete.
way.
I'm the one asking questions here. I'm the host. You're the mouthpiece, okay? He did not play in the preseason opener, did Tua. He says he wants to play in the second preseason game on Saturday, but he doesn't know if he's going to be able to play yet. So let's look ahead to the season, guys, and get some season-long futures. Tua's passing touchdowns set at 24.5. Rick only had 16 last season, but only had 12 starts as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go under that. And my research assistant here, Pete Prisco, who I said, tell me what Garoppolo did last year and how many touchdowns did he throw, and he threw for under 24.5. So I'm going to go with the same prediction and say Tua will be under 24.5.
I'm with you. I don't see him going over 24.5. That's a big number. That's a big jump. And he's got to be able to show that he can drive the football down the field. I know they're going to get the ball out of his hands quickly, Chris, and they're going to get the ball to those playmakers and some easy throws. But eventually you got to throw the ball down the field. And so far he hasn't proven that he can do that. If he does this year, he goes over. I still have my doubts, so I'm going to go under.
Yeah, Jimmy G was pretty far under. He only hit 20 passing touchdowns last season. How about Tyreek Hill? His receiving numbers have gone over 12,000 yards each of the last 2 seasons. Number is lower in Miami, obviously, because he doesn't have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Pete, it's set at 1,040.5 yards.
Well, if you listen to Tyreek Hill talk all offseason, he's going to easily go over that because he said Tua's better. I mean, look, they're all pumping Tua up. I get it. He's their quarterback. And I think he's going to go over that number in large part because he's going to get him the football. We watched practice today. They couldn't cover him. Nobody could cover him. He's a much better route runner. He's not a one-trick pony anymore, a guy who just scares you with his speed. He can run routes. So I think they'll be creative in how they get him the ball. He's going to rip off some long runs once he gets the ball in his hand, so I'm going to go over.
Yeah, and I'm going to say the same thing because he is a legitimate deep threat. Now, the question is, does Tua have enough arm to get it down there? But he's had 21 touchdowns throughout his career that were plus 30 yards in the air catches. The other thing that's unique about him is not only his route running ability, but how dynamic he is with the ball in his hands after the catch. So he's going to get a lot of those yards after the catch that will take him over that 1,000.5 yards.
All right. Tyreek Hill over receiving yards, Tua under passing touchdowns. Let's talk team as a whole and futures for the season. Their win total is set at 8.5, Pete. They've actually been over that each of the last 2 seasons, with Tua either being a starter for most of the season or part of it.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting the 9 wins. I just don't see it. I think they're going to be an interesting team. They're going to hang around. I know the division isn't tough with the Jets being what they are and the Patriots a team in transition. But Buffalo's a dominant team, and I think they're going to win the division easily. The schedule can be tough. There's some easy games on it, but I think the schedule's tough, so I'm going to go under.
I think they're going to get to 9 or 10 wins. I think they have enough talent on this offense, a new regime in place. I think as Mike McDaniel grows as a head coach, I know how innovative of a thinker he is on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to have a very good defense. I think they'll be very competitive in the AFC, and I think they'll win 9 or 10 games.
Okay, 9 or 10 will get you close to the playoffs, but as we've seen from Miami the last 2 seasons, it doesn't mean you're going to get in the postseason. They've only made it once since 2008, Rick. They're plus 140 to make it this season. Will 9 or 10 get them in?
9 or 10 will get them into the playoffs, I think. I think it's AFC is a very tough conference. I think what happens is that those other teams are going to beat the heck out of each other. So you got the AFC West, and there's going to be good teams that get eliminated. You got the AFC North with Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Cleveland and Cincinnati. I think the AFC South will only get one team in, but I think because of how competitive the AFC is this year, that everybody's going to have to beat up each other, and that may sneak Miami into the playoffs.
I don't think they get in. I just don't. I think they're going to be on the outside looking in. I wouldn't be surprised if 3 of the teams from the West get in. I wouldn't be surprised if 3 of the teams from the North get in. I think this is one of those situations, depending on what happens with the Browns quarterback situation, where the Dolphins are going to win 8 games and they're going to be outside looking in, and they're probably going to be looking for a quarterback next year.
Might all come down to that first month for the Dolphins and for Tua. We saw the schedule. The Patriots, yes, they're favored in that game, but they likely won't be favored against the Ravens, the Bills, or the Bengals. Pete, you said 3-1 would be great. I think Rick said earlier 2-2 would be fantastic. But let's start with that Week 1 game because we have the line for it, Pete. They're 2.5-point favorites at home against the Patriots.
That's their win early in the season. That one I can look at it and say, look, I know New England's tough. I know Belichick's a great coach. We know what he can do in the past. But he's going to be really challenged with this team. They're on the road early. It's going to be hot. It's going to be miserable. I'm going to take Miami minus the 2.5 in that game.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Dolphins. They beat New England twice last year now. They were 2-5, I believe, against playoff teams. But 2 of those wins came against New England. And New England, I think if you look at their history, when they come down in the heat and they have to have on those dark jerseys, the heat jumps on them here a little bit. So I think with the electricity that's going to be in the stadium down here in Hard Rock right across from us there, that the Dolphins are definitely going to win.
And Tua has had success against the Patriots throughout his career, his young career. He's 3-0 against Bill Belichick, looking to make it 4-0 in Week 1. The guys say that is going to happen, and they're going to cover the 2.5. Rick Spielman, Pete Prisco, as we continue our HQ training camp tours. We are with the Ravens as well today. Jonathan Jones is out there. Tomorrow we're going to be with the Washington Commanders. HQ training camp tours this week.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.